The subconscious mind is the silent power that governs much of human experience, and its most receptive state is found in the hours of sleep. During the waking day, the conscious mind is busy, filled with judgments, doubts, fears, and distractions. But as the body prepares to rest, the outer guard is lowered, and the deeper layers of thought open themselves to receive impressions without resistance. This is why the words, images, and affirmations planted before and during sleep are of profound importance. Florence Scovel Shinn often described life as a mirror of one's inner speech and beliefs. To fill the mind with words of lack or fear is to sow seeds of poverty and limitation. But to impress the subconscious with ideas of divine supply, abundance, and wealth is to guarantee that these very realities will take root and grow in the fertile soil of the unseen. The subconscious does not argue, nor does it discriminate. It accepts whatever is consistently impressed upon it, and then works tirelessly to bring those impressions into outward manifestation. Just as a seed planted in the earth draws to itself everything necessary for growth, so too does an affirmation of prosperity spoken in faith draw to itself the circumstances, opportunities, and resources to make it a living truth. When one lies down to sleep, the conscious will has little strength, and the chatter of the mind grows dim. This creates the perfect environment for suggestion. If the last thoughts before sleep are of fear, anxiety, or debt, then the subconscious continues to work with those ideas through the night, reinforcing patterns of lack. But if the final thoughts are deliberately shaped into words of abundance, such as "I live in a rich, friendly universe," or "divine supply now flows to me in perfect ways," then the subconscious receives these words as commands and begins aligning unseen forces to fulfill them. Sleep, therefore, becomes more than mere rest for the body. It becomes a spiritual workshop where the seeds of tomorrow's reality are sown. The beauty of this law is that effort is not required in the usual sense. The subconscious mind, once impressed, does not need to be reminded through struggle or force. It is automatic, like a law of nature. One does not have to command a seed to grow once it is planted in fertile soil. One only needs to trust that it will draw water, sunlight, and nutrients from the environment. In the same way, affirmations and divine truths spoken before sleep continue to work long after the conscious mind has ceased activity. They move unseen, arranging circumstances, drawing people, and opening channels through which supply may flow. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn insisted on the power of nighttime affirmations, for they bypass resistance and reach directly into the creative heart of one's being. To understand this truth is to transform the act of falling asleep into a sacred ritual of creation. Each night becomes an opportunity to imprint the subconscious with divine wealth frequency, ensuring that dreams are filled with abundance and that waking life mirrors the richness impressed upon the inner self. Words are not idle sounds. They are living forces that carry creative power. Every spoken word is like a seed, charged with energy, and once released, it seeks expression in the physical world. Florence Scovel Shinn often emphasized that words are wands, shaping and carving destiny in the invisible realm before it appears in the visible. When an individual constantly speaks of lack, saying things such as "I never have enough" or "money is hard to come by," the subconscious accepts these declarations as truth and sets in motion circumstances that mirror them. On the other hand, when words are filled with faith and expectancy, declaring prosperity, health, and success, they become commands to the subconscious mind, which in turn arranges events, people, and opportunities to bring those words into manifestation. The spoken word is linked to the law of vibration. Every utterance sends out a frequency, and this frequency attracts to itself similar vibrations. Words of fear and worry resonate with conditions of loss, while words of abundance and gratitude resonate with conditions of supply. The universe is neutral, responding to whatever vibration is most consistently offered. This is why careless speech becomes so dangerous. Jesting remarks such as "I am always broke" or "nothing ever works for me" are not dismissed by the subconscious as jokes. They are taken literally and planted as seeds in the soil of mind. In time, these words yield a harvest of experiences that match their nature. The power of words is especially strong when they are spoken with emotion and repetition. A phrase said once may pass quickly, but a statement repeated daily, charged with belief, becomes an indelible imprint upon the subconscious. This is why affirmations are so effective. They are not empty repetitions, but intentional declarations that create a pattern for life to follow. When someone affirms, "All that is mine by divine right now comes to me in perfect ways," they are not begging or pleading, they are commanding a universal law, aligning themselves with a higher order that knows no lack. There is also a spiritual dimension to words. In scripture and sacred teachings, creation itself is described as beginning with the word. "Let there be light" is not merely a poetic phrase, but a reflection of the eternal principle that sound and speech bring form to the formless. In this sense, every individual becomes a co-creator with the infinite, fashioning their world with the words they choose. Words spoken in alignment with divine truth carry immense authority, for they echo the creative power of spirit. The practice, then, is to guard speech carefully, especially in moments of emotion. By transforming language from careless chatter into conscious declaration, a person gains mastery over circumstances. Words of gratitude, praise, and faith build a foundation of abundance, while words of doubt and fear crumble the very structure one hopes to erect. When words are chosen wisely and spoken with intention, life bends to the shape of those utterances, and abundance becomes the natural outpouring of aligned speech. Wealth, in its truest sense, is not a treasure to be chased, but a divine inheritance already granted to every soul that aligns with the higher laws of life. Florence Scovel Shinn spoke often of the truth that abundance is not something outside of us, to be grasped or struggled for, but something within, waiting to be recognized and claimed. Just as a child does not earn the right to inherit the estate of a parent, so too does humanity not earn divine supply. It is the natural birthright of one who lives in harmony with spiritual law. This recognition transforms the way one approaches prosperity. Instead of desperation, there is calm expectancy. Instead of strain, there is rest. The universe is not hostile or indifferent. It is rich, friendly, and endlessly giving to those who open themselves to receive. To chase after wealth with fear and anxiety is to affirm its absence. It is to declare that supply is separate, distant, and difficult to attain. But when one shifts into the consciousness of abundance, wealth begins to flow without struggle. The consciousness of abundance is the inner knowing that everything needed is already prepared, and every demand has a perfect supply. A farmer does not doubt that seeds will grow when planted in fertile ground. He trusts the process. In the same way, when an individual plants the seed of wealth consciousness, life brings forth prosperity in due season. This truth rests upon the principle of divine order. Abundance is not a matter of luck or chance, it is a law. Just as gravity holds planets in place and brings objects to the earth, the law of supply ensures that every genuine demand is met. When one lives in harmony with this law, they do not struggle against the current of life, but are carried by it. Opportunities arrive, doors open, and provision flows in ways beyond human planning. What the world calls coincidence is, in fact, divine order responding to a consciousness of expectancy. To realize abundance as a birthright is also to release envy and competition. One no longer believes that wealth is scarce or reserved only for a few. Divine substance is infinite, and supply is limitless. The success of another does not diminish one's own good, but affirms that abundance is everywhere. In this recognition, fear of loss dissolves, for what is truly yours by divine right cannot be taken away, and what belongs to another cannot be forced into your life. This understanding produces peace of mind, a quiet confidence that allows prosperity to unfold naturally. When one embraces this truth, even ordinary experiences are transformed. A simple meal becomes a banquet when received with gratitude, and small opportunities blossom into great channels of supply when viewed through the lens of abundance. To claim prosperity as divine inheritance is to stop striving in the world of appearances and begin trusting the invisible law that governs all. It is to live with the certainty that the universe is rich, life is generous, and every need is already met in perfect ways. Worry is one of the greatest thieves of peace and prosperity, for it is nothing more than faith placed in failure instead of success. When one worries, they are rehearsing the very outcomes they fear, impressing upon the subconscious images of lack, difficulty, and loss. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that to fear or worry is to energize the wrong picture, and the subconscious, ever obedient, begins to arrange conditions to match those pictures. Thus, worry is not a harmless habit. It is a creative force misused. To overcome it, one must turn from fear to faith, from anxiety to trust, and from doubt to certainty in divine supply. Faith is the assurance that even if the way is not yet seen, it exists, and supply is already prepared. Just as the sun does not need coaxing to rise each morning, so too does divine provision not require struggle to appear. The release of worry is not achieved by mere willpower, but by replacing anxious thoughts with affirmations of truth. When the mind is tempted to rehearse fears, it must be gently redirected with words of power such as, "I cast this burden upon the Christ within, and I go free." Such declarations shift the focus from self-effort to divine order, allowing the higher self to arrange solutions beyond human reasoning. The more consistently one practices this shift, the more natural it becomes, until worry is no longer the automatic response, but faith is. Trusting in divine supply requires the courage to let go of control. Human nature clings tightly to plans, strategies, and timelines, believing that security is found in constant effort. Yet true security is spiritual, not material. It is found in the quiet knowledge that infinite intelligence governs every step, and that no good thing can be withheld from one who is aligned with truth. When this trust is cultivated, the heart rests even in uncertainty, for uncertainty becomes an opportunity for divine order to reveal itself in surprising and perfect ways. Releasing worry also creates the atmosphere in which abundance can flow. Fear constricts, closes, and limits, but faith opens, expands, and invites. A worried mind is like a clenched fist, unable to receive even when gifts are being offered. A trusting mind is like an open hand, ready to accept all that comes from the infinite storehouse of supply. This is why gratitude and faith are inseparable companions to prosperity. Gratitude dissolves worry by focusing attention on the good already present, while faith assures the heart that even greater good is on the way. Each time one chooses trust over worry, they affirm the truth of divine law. They declare that the universe is orderly, life is generous, and every need is already met in spirit before it is seen in form. This shift from anxiety to assurance not only transforms outer conditions, but also brings inner peace. To rest in faith is to dwell in abundance, for the mind aligned with divine supply no longer fears the future, but welcomes it as the unfolding of perfect provision. Prosperity arrives not through struggle or frantic effort, but through perfect channels prepared by divine intelligence. The human mind, limited in its scope, often imagines that supply can only come in certain ways, through a job, a business, or a single opportunity. Yet Florence Scovel Shinn taught that divine supply is never confined. The universe holds infinite avenues, and when one affirms that all that is theirs by divine right now comes in perfect ways, they release the burden of forcing outcomes and allow life to arrange circumstances with precision. The principle at work is simple. When faith replaces fear, doors open naturally, ideas surface at the right moment, and channels of provision reveal themselves without strain. What may appear as coincidence is in truth divine order, responding to the vibration of expectancy and trust. When individuals attempt to dictate exactly how their good must arrive, they often close themselves off to better channels already prepared for them. Human reasoning may demand supply from one direction, while divine wisdom is sending it from another. This is why trust is essential. One must declare the desired good, but leave the means to infinite intelligence. A person might affirm wealth and instead of more hours at work, they receive an inspired idea, a chance meeting, or an unexpected gift. These are the perfect channels, tailored uniquely for each situation, arriving with ease when the individual is aligned with the law of abundance. The phrase "in perfect ways" holds deep significance. It assures not only that supply will come, but that it will come harmoniously, without harm, conflict, or loss. True prosperity never robs another of their good, it enriches all involved. A business deal founded on greed may appear prosperous for a time, but it carries seeds of discord. Divine supply, however, blesses every hand it touches, creating success that uplifts rather than diminishes. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn insisted that one's affirmations be accompanied by the condition of perfection, so that supply is not only swift, but also aligned with divine justice and harmony. To live in this principle is to cultivate expectancy without anxiety. One may not know from where or how the good will appear, but there is a calm assurance that it must. This assurance transforms the way challenges are viewed. Instead of obstacles, they are seen as opportunities for divine order to reveal new channels. When a door closes, another opens, and the individual who trusts the law of supply walks forward without fear, knowing that the perfect way is already prepared. The practice of affirming supply in perfect ways also develops patience and receptivity. Patience, because divine timing ensures that good comes when it can be fully received and appreciated. Receptivity, because the mind must remain open to unexpected channels. This attitude turns daily life into a field of miracles, where each encounter, idea, or event may carry the seed of abundance. In this way, prosperity flows not through strain, but through alignment with the ever-present, perfectly ordered supply of the universe. Sleep is not merely a time of physical rest, but a sacred passage where the subconscious mind continues its creative work, shaping tomorrow from the impressions planted today. When one falls asleep, holding thoughts of fear, worry, or lack, those seeds germinate in the silence of the night, and the waking hours reveal their harvest in the form of obstacles, delays, and shortages. Yet when the mind is filled with affirmations of wealth, images of abundance, and gratitude for divine supply, sleep becomes a workshop of prosperity. The subconscious, unguarded and receptive, accepts these impressions as commands and tirelessly works to arrange conditions in harmony with them. Thus, rest itself becomes an act of creation, and the morning brings evidence of abundance already prepared. Florence Scovel Shinn often taught that the subconscious mind is like fertile soil. Incapable of judgment, it will grow whatever is planted: thorns or roses, poverty or prosperity. By deliberately impressing it with affirmations before sleep, one ensures that only seeds of good are sown. Words such as "I rest in divine abundance" and "I awaken to perfect supply" are not empty phrases, but spiritual decrees that shape reality. Spoken with faith, they enter deeply into the subconscious, which then draws to the individual the opportunities, resources, and relationships necessary to manifest prosperity. Resting in wealth consciousness also dissolves the habit of striving. Many spend their waking hours in constant struggle, attempting to push and force circumstances into alignment. This strain often blocks the very flow of supply, for fear and effort create resistance. But when one lies down in the vibration of abundance, there is no resistance, only receptivity. In this receptive state, the individual is like an open channel, allowing divine substance to flow freely. Sleep becomes an act of surrender, a trust in the unseen order of life, where one no longer clings to problems, but releases them to the higher law that never fails. Awakening in abundance is the natural result of this practice. The morning brings clarity, inspiration, and new paths prepared by the subconscious during the night. Seemingly small encounters reveal themselves as channels of supply, and fresh ideas emerge with ease. What once felt blocked begins to move, for divine substance has been at work while the conscious mind was at rest. This is the deeper meaning of the phrase "rest in wealth, awaken in abundance." It is not poetic imagery, but a practical law of mind and spirit. showing that prosperity is created in silence before it is seen in form. To live in this rhythm is to transform the simple act of sleep into a spiritual practice. Each night becomes an opportunity to renew faith, to release all fear, and to impress the subconscious with the certainty of abundance. Each morning becomes a testimony to the unseen work of divine order. Thus, rest is no longer idle, and waking life is no longer burdened by lack. The soul learns to sleep in wealth and to rise in abundance, walking each day in harmony with the infinite supply that is always present.